Dark Diva, and welcome to another video from the Dark Diva Rules. Today we're going to be doing a bourbon tasting, and these are mostly, well, in fact they're all craft, handmade, small batch crafted bourbons. So I want to talk just a little bit. What defines bourbon? Bourbon is legally has to be made with at least 51% corn in the mash, which is what you distill. It's the mix of grain and so forth. Usually it's added with rye and malted barley. One exception to that is actually Maker's Mark is made with red winter wheat instead of rye. There's a little story about that. If we have time, I'll get to that as we do the tastings. Two of these are National Maker's Mark and Woodford Reserve, and they're kind of the bookends. This is considered Maker's Mark, what I consider the entry level to the premium bourbon category. Like I said, handmade small batch bourbons. Kind of at the top of the line, relatively speaking, at least as far as my budget will stretch at the moment, is Woodford Reserve. And you can also see I've got a smaller bottle of it. This is like a half pint. What I could afford to add to it, if you will. So anyway, we will talk about those. I know several of them are triple distilled. For example, the Berkshire. Now, the Berkshire bourbon, made by Berkshire Mountain Distillery. It's a craft distillery in Sheffield, Massachusetts, in the Berkshire Mountains. And Litchfield, which is made by Litchfield Distillery in the Litchfield Hills, which is part of the Berkshire Range in Connecticut. And this is about an hour away, and this is a couple hours away from where I live in Connecticut. So I've got all four. We're going to do a little bit of a tasting. Oh, I mentioned 51% corn. It also has to be aged in oak barrels, charred oak barrels. Typically, minimum 4 years. And that's the minimum. Some are aged more. There's other aspects of it, the distilling process, what goes in it. Two things important with Litchfield and Berkshire. They are made from locally sourced ingredients. The corn is grown in the area. The wheat or the rye, the barley. So all of that, they source everything locally. Okay, and they're making craft small batches. Now, Maker's Mark, which is owned by Beam Suntory, or Suntory, I think pronounced. It's been through several ownerships. So it is attached with the Jim Beam brand, but it is its own, very much so. Handmade Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, and it has to be made in Kentucky, obviously be called Kentucky bourbon, straight bourbon. But you don't have to make it in there specifically to call it bourbon. So let's trust the Maker's Mark. Again, what ideally you would do for a thorough tasting, and we would do if I had more time and wanted to be sober by the time I didn't want to be sober, we put it over rocks and put a shot or two of bourbon in, and then a splash of water. It releases more of the aroma, the flavor notes. That's really the best way to enjoy it to its full effect. But we're doing a little bit shortcut, so we're just sampling from shot glasses. Small amounts too. It's smooth. A little bit of a burn at the back. And again, that's where it falls in the price range. You can expect that. It's far less than you get from the level down. Some of the more popular price brands. But it's very smooth overall. Good flavor notes. It's bourbon. But then there's some mellowness to it. That's what makes a good bourbon. It should have full flavor but mellow. It feels warm. It feels good. It tastes good. There's no harshness to it. Okay. Now we're going to Berkshire, which is bourbon here. It's craft distilled in Massachusetts, like I said, in the Berkshire Mountains at Sheffield, Mass. Berkshire Mountain Distillery. Triple distilled, locally sourced, and this is, I just bought my second bottle of it. This is the last of the first bottle that I bought. about 2 weeks ago, I think. Um, and I've been experimenting with it, like Christmas mules and stuff. Excellent. I love the flavor. It does have a bit of a, well, they call it spicy. I call it peppery. We could settle on savory aftertaste, which I like. I find that different and enjoyable, but everybody's taste is a little different. Your palate will also, everybody's palate's sensitive to some things more than others. So what they tell you you'll taste, you may not. It's an individual thing. As long as you taste something that you like. If it doesn't appeal to you, you know, if it's not good, don't drink it. That's the rule of thumb. Pretty smooth. A little bit of a burn, just a little bit. In the after, and again, that's a quick swallow. Water would dilute that considerably as far as the burn, but it's more flavorful than the Maker's Mark. I can taste more flavors. I've got a little bit of the savory. I've got a little bit of now they talk about toffee in their description of it. I don't quite get that, but and I do love toffee, but I get a bit of there is a sweetness to it. Um, Again, your individual taste will take over. I found it very enjoyable. I like it because it is different. It has more flavor to it than a traditional bourbon, and I like it. I like the spice. It's just something I find personally very enjoyable, and I've had a lot of success with those, and it's going to be a new staple in my laboratory. As I say, Maker's Mark is a staple that I use, and I think the Berkshire is going to be joining that. This is Litchfield. I just bought it today. Litchfield, it's Badger's Bourbon. It's, again, made by Litchfield Distillery. I hope to go visit them this spring. I didn't get a chance to this fall schedules. And it's about an hour's drive, so I have to plan around a lot of things to get out there. Just got it today. Done some tasting with it. It's good. Very good. I don't... it doesn't have quite the same flavor profile as the Berkshire, but well, we'll taste it and we'll give you our feedback right after this. It's a little okay. It's a little smoother on the back end. You don't get hardly any burn. Not the Berkshire doesn't have much, but a little bit. It's a little less burn. It has a mellower entrance, but I doesn't have quite the spark of flavor and the flavor profile that I get from the Berkshire, the spice that I really love. I would highly recommend it, and I will be using it. I'm setting up bourbon tasting for my open house on Christmas Eve. So I have friends come in. I have bourbon friends, so hopefully we'll do some tastings and get some feedback on that. I can definitely recommend trying it. It's, again, one of the things, and we'll look at the bottles. Actually, I should have done that sooner. We'll do the Litchfield. As you can see, they number, the batch and everything. So it's, which is kind of a cool thing. Straight bourbon whiskey. It is quite good. It is quite good. I'm impressed with it. And so we'll try out some mules and things. I'll be giving you some recipes, and you can read about that in my blog, or as well as in my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter account feeds. So let's go back and take a look at the Maker's Mark, just so you be sure you don't miss what that is if you're looking for the label. And again, handmade. I think it's pretty cool. Berkshire, it's a simple label, but a very good one. You can see, and again, this is the Berkshire, so if you're looking for that in the store. Now, they make a lot of things at Berkshire, and the same thing with Litchfield. They make a lot of other liquors, so we'll be getting to those as we get a chance. I think it's Berkshire. They've won a number of awards for some of their stuff, and done write-ups in the New York Times, which I think is great. Craft distilling, I'm a huge fan of, and I appreciate small batch craft distillers because I think that adds a touch of personal investment that we lose in a lot of things today. Mass produced is cheap, but isn't always great. I like the personal investment that people take ownership of. So this is Woodford Reserve. They also do label and batching. It's very simple. Their bottles are very clean. And again, this is like a half pint, 200 milliliters. Well, also, these are done in price-wise. I say this is the top end, relatively speaking. This was cost me about $16 and something for a half pint. So you can extrapolate for up to get to a fifth, and that's like almost 4 times the price. Yeah, it's not cheap. Good, very good, and we'll do the tasting here. Doesn't get much smoother than this, although in overall smoothness, Litchfield would give it a run for the money. Flavor notes are kind of like it's got a little more flavor, is a little more aligned with the Berkshire. Again, I can taste more of the spice in this one, and that's kind of intriguing. They're all a little bit different in where they get. But yeah, excuse me, I don't talk much, apparently. Well, this is the second time. I didn't like the first version of this video. It was way too long, so this is not the first time I've gone through the samplings. I hope this one works because I'm not sure I'll make it through another one. Realizing that everybody's proportions in the mash are different. I said they use the red winter wheat in Maker's Mark versus rye in the other 3. But the balance of corn will be slightly different. It's mixed. The number of times it's distilled will vary. You age it in charred American oak barrels, and they have to be, first use. Now, what they do with them, typically, American oak barrels used bourbon barrels, and sherry barrels are used to age, for example, Scotch. So they get reused, interestingly enough. I would say it's very good. Is it worth the extra money? Depends on your budget. I like a lot of things that are very, very good, and they would be worth it if I had the money, but I don't, outside of what I spend on it for testing. Still, very good bourbon, and highly recommended. Now, we're missing some. For example, I don't have Jefferson Reserve. I don't have Knob Creek, which I have had. It's very good. There are many others in the premium category, and as we get to them, we will have an opportunity, and we'll add them to the tasting and share that with you. Now, again, as I say, you will find your own experience. Your actual experience may vary. But, there's something to give you an idea and a range and where to put your money. For the holidays, it's great because it's a good opportunity to share with your friends and get their opinions. If you're having holiday parties, and we're winding down. And again, I do an open house on Christmas Eve. That's my one big holiday party, if you will. I do for yourself or anyone who's coming over. Please enjoy these responsibly. I said it in my last video, and I'll say it again. I shouldn't have to, but we all know. We've all been there, and we've all done it, and we shouldn't. So, if you're going out, watch how many, anything over 1, depending on the person, over 2, don't do it. Don't drive. Uber, have somebody drive you, take a designated driver, stay for a while, okay? Be careful. Because if you screw up by drinking too much when you go out, it's something you won't be able to take back, okay? And if you end up with a DUI or in a wreck, or you hurt somebody else in a wreck, it's not going to be a happy holiday for anybody. So just please bear that in mind. Enjoy it responsibly, okay? That's all I ask. And if you're hosting a party, be careful. Keep an eye on your guests, and call them a cab or an Uber or whatever if necessary, or take them home if you're incapable of, or find somebody who can. Let's all be careful out there this holiday. So, hope you have a very happy holiday season, depending on whatever you celebrate. So it's kind of, I do Christmas, so Merry Christmas. But happy holidays for whatever you celebrate. And have a good one. Enjoy it. Be healthy. Be happy. And we'll be back soon. Thanks for tuning in. And as I always say, in addition to happy holidays, cheers. Thanks for tuning in to The Dark Diva. If you have any comments, please leave them on my YouTube channel, or you can email me at missbree@thedarkdivarules.com. Cheers.